be alive in this land of ours. Good to drive in this land of ours.
Hello, Canada hockey fans in the United States.
The Hockey Time Machine.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to Hockey Time Machine. I'm Glenn Dreyfus. Tonight's show is going to be a lot like the World Hockey Association. Chaotic, at times disorganized, but a whole lot of fun. We'll leave you with lasting memories and be over too soon. Peter Young is first to join us. Peter was the voice of the Winnipeg Jets in both the WHA and the NHL as part of an amazing broadcasting career. And this October in Whistler, British Columbia, well, Peter, what have you and your comrades been cooking up?
Well, starting about last March, we realized, obviously because of the date, that it was going to be 50 years since the founding of the World Hockey Association. So a bunch of us got together and decided that we should try to put together a reunion for the guys that played in that league for the years that it existed before the merger with the NHL. And we tried for 2-3 months to get the event in Las Vegas, thinking it would be a great location for everybody to get to. And we found out very quickly that we were the third, fourth, maybe the 10th in line as far as importance is concerned in Vegas, and had all kinds of trouble securing hotel space at reasonable cost. And they didn't want to do anything till they saw next year's NHL schedule and next year's NFL schedule, and next time bullfighting or bull riding was coming into Vegas. So we ended up, sort of looking for a Canadian destination, and there were a couple of good ones that we thought of: Quebec City, Winnipeg. Winnipeg was in the final 5 of the 7 years, won 3 times. Quebec won once, and so those were 2 options. Edmonton was, of course, an option, although they never won an Avco Cup. They won plenty of Stanley Cups, but that sort of defeated the purpose. So we finally thought we should find an area that had all the amenities that we needed: banquet space, hotel space, great time of the year, golf courses, incredible golf courses. And we decided that Whistler, British Columbia was the place to go. And we've spent, the last 4 or 5 months, 4 months probably, getting ready and going and visiting all the sites in Whistler that we needed to see. And it's all going to happen next October 6th, 7th, 8th, and 9th in Whistler, British Columbia.
Well, if anybody says, why isn't it in a WHA city, you just remind them, the Whistler Slopes. They played one season. No one remembers them.
Well, and the other thing is, if you pick a WHA city, you're obviously showing preference to that team. And so, those of us that were around the Winnipeg Jets for all those years, that would be a natural. But, how does that help the guys in Edmonton, Hartford, Cincinnati, Indianapolis? They think Winnipeg's trying to dominate everything again, just the way Morris Lukowich and the guys dominated on the ice. So we figured we'd pick a neutral site that has got some decent scenery. And that's how we settled on Whistler. That and the fact that a good friend of ours runs about 17 sports bars in Whistler, and we now have 17 great hospitality areas.
Let's do a little walk back down WHA memory lane since we have you. Wayne Gretzky, who of course started with the Indianapolis Racers, then the Edmonton Oilers of the WHA, he's done countless interviews, but one that you did with him is notable because you really got him to open up, including a story where Wayne was a spectator behind the bench in Edmonton, and a member of the Indianapolis Racers, Bruce Gregg, does some racing of his own. Let's take a listen, and then you can give the backstory.
Okay.
The police were on the ice, and he went skating on the ice. It was right here in Edmonton, and the police chief went running on the ice to get him in the middle of the hockey game because he had a warrant from a brawl in Calgary, Quebec, years earlier.
Yeah, right. I remember
Yeah,
that.
and here he was, and they were coming to whatever it was, and I think his name was, if I remember correctly. Nice guy. I played with him for a month.
Nice guy, except for the warrant.
Well, hey, that was half the players in the league in those days. You know, it's a great story and it's a great interview. And the one story he tells with where Ace Bailey, Ace of course died in 9/11 and a great friend of Gretzky's. And in that same interview, he talks about Gretz getting pummeled on the ice by a certain player, and Ace tells him to come skating by the bench the next time and see if the guy will follow him. And he does, and Gretz looks around and the guy's laying on his back, and referee didn't see anything, but as the guy was coming down the ice, Ace just cold cocked the guy, knocked him out cold, and the guy's laying on the ice. But there's a million stories like that. And the best part is you've got some guys that are way more important than I am. So let's bring some of those WHA legends in and hear some of the stories they have to say.
Well, that's exactly what we're going to do, but we're not quite done with your stories. A few of those million stories are yours.
Okay.
Here's a photo of you with John Ferguson, the
Nice
GM
dude, huh?
of the Winnipeg Jets, and
Nice jacket.
his or yours?
No, mine.
Okay.
I was at a wedding and I just made it to the show.
You know, if you
Ty
would
was
just
good
put
too.
if you would just put an arrow over your head, you could have been Steve Martin.
Yeah, I can't play the banjo. Sorry.
Anyway, tell the story about Fergie. You got along fine at sea level, but one time on a team charter, he was pretty mad at you.
Well, he was, you know, he could be your best buddy one day and your worst enemy the next. But you know, at the end of the day, you shook hands, and he and I played on the same fastball team and had many laughs together. And when we were trying to revive the WHA in 2003, I met with him about being the GM of the Toronto team, and that was the last time I saw Fergie actually. But in this series in Edmonton, it wasn't in the WHA; it was in the NHL. And I used to play squash with Willie Lindstrom's wife, Britt. So I'm in Edmonton with the Jets in a playoff round, must be around 85. And I end up playing squash, not with Britt, but her girlfriend, Vicky Moss, who was at that time, you know, with Wayne. And so we were all invited back to a barbecue at Wayne's place that night. This is when he lived downtown with the 2-story condo building, and barbecued steaks with Willie and Britt and Vicky and Wayne. And so anyway, the Jets lose the first 2 games of the series, and we're chartering back to Winnipeg after the second game. And I'm up front, sort of standing up, leaning against a seat, thankfully with a couple of members of the board of directors, one of whom was an executive at Moffat Communications, the TV station I worked with. So he was there to verify what happened. And all of a sudden, from the back of the plane where the players were, comes Fergie storming up the aisle, and you know, his opening line was, "I want to open that door and throw you out." And so the grievous sin that I had committed, I find out later, is that the Jets lost the first 2 games, not because they had Curry and Anderson and Coffey and Lowe and Gretzky, you name it, Fuhrer, but because I had given Wayne all the Jets secrets when I had the barbecue at his place. And that's why the Jets lost, because whatever secrets the Jets had, I supposedly passed on to Wayne. And thankfully, others heard the story and verified what happened, because by the next day, Fergie asked me if I wanted to go for a beer. So, you know, little things like that happen in the sport. I'm sure the other guys on tonight have a story like that.
Well, now the truth about your ruthless double agency can be revealed years later.
Yep.
Stay close, Peter. We'll have you back in a couple of minutes. And
You
by
go
the
ahead
way,
and talk to the important
Peter
guys.
gets a mighty stick tap
Uh-oh.
for rounding up tonight's guests, one of whom is a proud Arrows and Jets alum, Terry Ruskowski. So let's welcome Terry to Hockey Time Machine. Thank you for making the time, Terry.
My pleasure. Can you hear me okay?
Yes, you look great. You sound great.
You're just saying that. Thanks, Paul. Appreciate it.
Well, that's what I'm hoping people will say to me sometimes.
Paul,
They don't have to mean it.
You look great, by the way.
Now, you, Terry, were a captain in both Houston and Winnipeg, and you wore the C in the NHL with Chicago, Pittsburgh, and Los Angeles. So be immodest for us. What did others see in you that made you captain material?
Well, you know what? I've been asked that question a couple of other times. You know what? I really don't know. I think it was my competitiveness. I hated to lose. I stuck up for my teammates all the time. I wasn't the fastest skater. I didn't have the hardest shot. But golly, I wanted to win. And I mean, after every loss, guys that go out with their families, their wives go and drink, whatever. I went home, and my attitude is, what do you celebrate when you lose? There's nothing to celebrate. I just wanted to work hard. I think that I feel that I knew the players. I was always for them, not against them. And if I could see something wrong from a player's performance, I had the ability as a captain to go up and say, "Hey, what's going on, buddy? Is there anything that you want to talk about? If your family okay?" And they usually go, "Well," I said, "Let's have lunch." And then we go and have lunch and we talk and we find out what's going on. I would never, ever, ever, if I said to the person, "Do you want me to tell the coach this?" He goes, "No, please. We'll figure it out. You and I will figure it out, or we'll figure it out somehow." I've never, ever went to the coach when the guy said, "Don't go to the coach." We always figured it out when we can work it out ourselves. So yeah, I worked hard. I worked hard on the ice. I worked hard in practice. I try to work as hard as I can on the ice to maximize my not much talent. But yeah, I guess that might be one of the reasons, or a couple of reasons why that they chose me for being a captain. I was only the assistant captain in Winnipeg. I wasn't the full captain there, but it was a pleasure doing that. That was an honor. It was an honor to be the captain of those teams and be the assistant captain of the AFCO Cup winning Winnipeg Jets.
Now, you, as you say, being captain or wearing the A is an honor, but it's also a burden. And sometimes that extra responsibility can affect your own play because you have to worry not only about your own game, but everybody else's too. So how did you manage that?
Well, the other part is, if it was a Christmas party or if it was a Halloween party, I was the guy that kind of set everything up to make sure everybody had a good time at the party and set it all up and make sure that it ran smoothly. I don't know, Paul. It was a scenario where I knew my limits and I knew what I had to do, and it just kind of come natural to me to do those things. It never affected me off the ice at all. It never did. It affected me on the ice. In those scenarios. I tell you a story. I was a captain in Pittsburgh, and there was either Olympics or some sort of USA, challenging the world or something. And we had like 10 days or 12 days off in Pittsburgh. And I went up to the coach and I said, I think we should have a couple days off. He goes, "No way, no way, no way. This is hockey. We got it." I said, "Listen, have the guys not performed well for you?" And he go, "Yeah." And I said, "Listen, give them 4 days off. 4 days off, or just go away, do whatever you want to do, and have some fun, and just get away from hockey, because hockey sometimes is a burdening situation, especially when you're not doing so well. It can work on your mind. There's no question about it." So he said, "No way, no, I'm not going to do that." I said, "Trust me." He said, "Well, the guys work hard," and I come back, and I said, "Give me 5 minutes." I went to the dressing room and I said, "Guys, hold on, everybody come back." I said, "If I can give you 4 days off, trainers, everybody, don't come to the ring for 4 days. Go do whatever you want to do what you want to do, go wherever you want to go. But you got to come back here at this time." And they said, "Hell yeah, we'll work hard." And that's exactly what we did. The guys went out, they did whatever they wanted to do. They went home to Canada, they did this, Vegas, some other places. They came back, we worked our butts off. We won 5 in a row after that. We won 5 games in a row. The guys worked their butts off. And I was coming off the ice one time after the 5th win, and he gave me a thumbs up on that one. So you have to work the coaches. You have to know what the coaches are thinking, and you have to know what the players are thinking. You got to find a happy medium between both of them to make them both happy, because the coach doesn't go to the players all the time. He comes to me and he says, okay, what the heck's going on with this team? What are you going to do? And it's my responsibility to give him the answer and to have a solution for him. He says, I don't want another question. I want a solution. Don't give me another question. I want a solution. And you got to come up with a solution to get going in the right direction. And that was part of my job too. So yeah, you're right. It just wasn't playing hockey and have that nice letter on your shoulder and have that prestige. There was work behind it.
One of the things about playing in a rival league is that there's going to be instability. So tell me, you had a proud franchise in Houston, and when that came to an end, it couldn't have been easy moving on to Winnipeg.
It wasn't, and I'll tell you the reason why. The reason why is because we had such a rivalry against Winnipeg. If they didn't win this AFCO Cup, we would. And if it's back and forth. And it's just every game was just so intense, like so intense. And we had a huge rivalry. We didn't want to go there. And now, I don't know if anybody knows this or not, but Rudy Pillis called me, and he kept on trying to call me. And I told my wife, I'm not in. He called me at 5:00 in the morning in Houston. So I was still sleeping. I woke up. Hello. He said, "Oh, Terry, I've been trying to get a hold of you." And I go, "Really?" And he said, Yeah. I'm sorry. Yes, I'm sorry to get a hold of you and all this. He said, "I want you to come play with Winnipeg. We bought the rights to Houston. We're going to come. You come play with me in Winnipeg." I said, "No, I just kind of don't want to do that, Rudy. Come on, you can do it." And pardon me, I said, "I'd rather dig ditches than come to Winnipeg and play for you, Rudy. And I don't want to be. I don't want to be rude to you, but you told me, and you wouldn't listen to me." And he said, "Well, let the owner." And I had nothing against Rudy. I think he's a fine gentleman. And the owner called me and he said, "Terry, no pressure. Come down. You and your wife, you and Carol, come down here. You got 2 tickets. Come on down here. Just talk to us." So I went and talked to Michael Gabati, and we walked around a little bit and showed him and his family. And of course, I knew the rink because I played it enough. And he said, "I really want you to come." And he's the one that convinced me and said, "Okay, I'm coming." And it's probably the best decision I made in a long, long time to go to Winnipeg to play, because I went there. The people treated me great. Like it was so cold one time. The guy said, "Stay in your car. I'll pump gas for you, Terry. You stay there." It was one of those things little things that meant a lot to people. And for me, especially, it meant a lot. And they treated me really good. And I have no regrets going to Winnipeg. Obviously, winning Stanley Cup and playing with guys that were my friends, my family, my brothers forever. So it was a good scenario.
And besides the franchise folding in Houston, one other awful thing happened when you were there, and it's these sweaters. And what is going on here?
I don't know, man. I think it was a zoo thing for a zebra or something. I'm not sure. We're promoting Zebra Day or something. I don't know, but there's some good-looking guys in there. I'll tell you that right now. The sweaters may be bad, but good-looking guys. God dang. It was a promotion, and I can't remember what it was, but we had to wear that and put it in the program just for I think some clothing store was advertising something. So it's not my proudest moment.
Well, you know what they say, the internet is forever.
I know. Unfortunately.
I don't like the photo because everyone in it has so much hair.
Yeah, tell me about it. I'm losing it up there too, my friend. So I'm losing it up there too.
Hey, we'll stay nearby. We're going to have you back in a few minutes, okay?
You bet.
But we're going to talk to one of Terry's Avco winning. Boy, I am so out of focus. I look a lot better, don't I? What can we do about that? Oh, no. Now I'm in focus. Maybe it was better when I was out of focus. Anyway, we're going to talk to one of Terry's Avco Cup winning teammates if Magic Man Kent Nilsson has appeared. I wonder he hasn't appeared. Okay. Well, then I tell you what, let's do, Laura. In the interim, let's bring back Peter and Terry, who I promised we'd bring them back. Now let's bring them back together.
With my buddy.
Hi, Peter.
Hey, Terry. Good to see you, buddy.
Good to see you too, my friend.
Man, we got a lot of stories to tell, don't we?
Yeah, it was only 75 degrees here in Dallas, Texas, by the way.
Yeah,
So
it was close to that here today, like minus 28 or something, you know.
that's why the fan is on. It's a little hot in the room here.
Yeah, it's, you know, nobody's going outside anyway. What difference does it make?
So both you guys living in Winnipeg, tell me what it's like to win there, because not as you said, Terry, because of the rivalry and also because Winnipeg isn't the easiest place to live. What does it mean, and what did it mean? Peter, you were there for all three of the Avco World Trophies, and Terry, you were there for the last one. What did it mean to the people there?
Well, you just have to be in the building to experience it. You know, the Bombers hadn't won since '65 or something like that, and so you know the city didn't really, you know, Edmonton was the city of champions, and they kept winning every Grey Cup, and they had, you know, everything else, every other sport they were good at, and so Winnipeg was sort of, I don't know, looked down upon as number one, a place to live. Got a bad rap. So, you know, the one that Terry was in, we were old hat by then. We won 3 in a row. That was 3 out of the last 4 years. And so the fans, of course, spectacular. As Terry mentioned, Michael Gabati, one of the finest guys you'll ever meet, was one of the owners of the Jets in those days. And it was just so great to celebrate with all those guys who kept hockey alive. It's a long story about how that last 7th year of the WHA even happened. You know, they had tried to get the merger the year before, and Molson Brewery, who owned the Montreal Canadiens, voted against it, and they were the decisive vote. And then there was a revolt in Manitoba against the product, and all of a sudden Montreal's vote changed. So, you know, we knew sort of going into that last series that it was probably the last WHA series, and so it meant a lot to the fans. And because it was the merged team, and Terry didn't bring this up, but I think when Jeff Kirbyson's on, he has a great story with Tommy McVie. You know, the Jets were really, I think Terry would admit, you know, languishing as a 4th place team at that point. And then they moved Larry Hillman out and brought Tommy McVie in, and for some reason, whatever Tommy did, and Terry and Luke can attest to what happened, but somehow Tommy McVie was able to perform a miracle and merge the Houston faction with the Winnipeg faction and make them a cohesive unit. These two rivals that, even though they're wearing the same uniform, you know, I'm sure there was still some dislike. And somehow Tommy, whatever he did, and Terry can address that, whatever Tommy did, brought them together, and that, you know, changed everything in that last year.
Well, Terry, was what Tommy did just work you so hard you didn't have time to have any ill feelings or any strength left to do that?
Well, I tell you what, Glenn, you have a good point. He actually did work the heck out of us. And the pregame skate in the morning was like an everyday practice for every other team. It was incredible. It was absolutely incredible. But to think Tommy coming in, Tommy didn't give a dickens if you were a Houston guy, if you're a Winnipeg guy, you got treated the same. There was no cliques anymore. There was no, and we try to stop that to begin with, but guys, hard to do that when teams don't like each other. But he came in there, he worked us so hard that we didn't like him. We didn't like him off the start because he worked us so hard that we all got along together. We all got along hating him. But he worked us hard, and he taught us how to be winners again as a team, not as individuals. I remember one day when Scotty Campbell had a broken jaw, and he was wired up, and we skated so hard. He had one missing tooth in the front because he had to have place for the braces to go to shut his mouth up, which was also good. And after he just skated so hard, and he was starting to, after practice, he was throwing up, and it was just, excuse everybody listening, it was coming through where his tooth wasn't, the throat of puke. And I'm helping him off, and we get to the door, and he leans over to Tommy. Tommy's at the door too, and he goes, "Hey, Tommy, is that all you can do?" And then, of course, "Hey, wait till tomorrow. And I go, oh, Scotty, shut the hell up, please, shut up. But that's the way he worked it so hard, but he didn't care. But he did it with, how can I say, he did it with kid gloves, loving care. He loved us, but he worked the heck out of us because he loved us, kind of deal. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
He was, but he didn't care. He just walked in there and go, I don't care who you are. I don't care what the situation is. We're one, and get out there and start working, or you're not going to play. Kind of that kind of deal. You work, you don't play. Okay, let's work. And we started working, and we had it, and we really did bond as a good team. We worked so hard in training camp before the Quebec game. I didn't know if we had anything left, and we swept them, like swept them. I think the closest game was like 6-2. Everything was just clicking, going. But to elaborate a little bit about Winnipeg and Edmonton, they had the number one team, and they were cocky, they were arrogant because they were number one. They had Gretzky, Messy, Anderson, all the boys. They were all just cocky and arrogant, and I think that's what the fans kind of fed off of. But I truly mean, if we wouldn't have won the 6th game, we weren't going to win the 7th game back in Edmonton. There's just, we had the game before the 5th game. I think they beat us like 10-2 or 10-1. They just smoked us.
But that's what they were supposed to do. You weren't supposed to win that series.
Exactly. And I think that's what the fans fed off it. You're not supposed to beat Edmonton because they got this team that's untouchable. Nobody can beat them. Well, guess what? We did.
Well, let's take about 16 seconds to look at the last moments of the last WHA game.
The Avco Cup champion Winnipeg Jets, who have defeated the Edmonton Oilers here tonight by a score of 7-3. It was their 5th final series in the 7-year history of the league, and the 3rd time that they won the cup.
I'm surprised Tom didn't make us skate around about 4 or 5 times before we went.
No, that was the late great Al Shaver from Minneapolis that did the play-by-play.
Loved Al.
In those days, I did the play-by-play of the Jets, and Rod Phillips did the play-by-play of the Oilers, and our 2 stations decided that it would be unfair if either one of us was the guy that did the game, because obviously it'd be, I guess, supposed favoritism towards that city. So we brought in Al Shaver, and I hosted the games. Actually, Shelley Swirsky hosted one of the games in Edmonton because I had to do an assignment for CTV. But Al Shaver and Bruce McGregor, who played for the Oilers, was the color commentator. And I've got that whole last game. It's still fun to watch. Terry actually touched the puck.
I tell you, I had the privilege of being around Al when I went to Minnesota for my 2 last years of playing in the NHL. What a great gentleman. I love the guy. I mean,
great play-by-play broadcast.
Airport, he's always nice and cordial. He's just supportive of you all the time. Al was just a really classy, great guy and did a great job on doing the broadcast.
His son Randy was the sports anchor at WCCO in Minneapolis until about 2 years ago. So probably 30 years.
Wow.
All right. One last question before we wrap this. That was the last game ever played in the World Hockey Association. So what extra was wrapped up emotionally, or was everybody just so concerned with the task at hand that they didn't think about the bigger picture that this was the end of the league?
I don't know how the players felt. What do you think, Terry? I mean, it was pretty cool that Dave Semenko got the last goal because it didn't really matter at that point.
Go figure. He could hit a bull's butt with a handful of rice and he gets the last goal. Glenn, that's a great question, by the way. I've never been asked that question. It's a great question. I'm thinking about it now. I don't believe that I ever thought about going. I didn't know if I was going to stay in Winnipeg, first of all, or if I was going to leave. If they're going to protect me or not protect me. But we were so keen. We were so into this playoffs and winning it. Personally, I never thought of anything after that. Nothing. Except I wanted to be the first car in the parade going down friggin' Main Street, baby, waving that cup all over the place.
And I got the video of that.
Yeah, and that was number one priority, and there was no two.
Yeah,
there was no two.
Cool. And those were the days when you wouldn't know this, Glenn, but I don't know, because of the odd number of teams that were left or whatever, we ended up playing that final game on like May the 24th or something. It was already, 70, it was already 80, 90 degrees in Winnipeg. So it was shirt sleeve parade in the convertibles, day after the game.
I have to tell you something I have never told anybody. We're all at the hotel. We were all at the hotel, and a guy threw a jersey at me. He says, "Hey, Terry Roscoe, this is my jersey. Save it. This is the best." No, they're here. Congratulations. Here's my jersey. And I said, "Hey, thanks a lot, man. I appreciate it." And all of a sudden, the body odor of that thing was horrible. I give it to my wife, and I said, "Hold on to this for a while." And she smells. She goes, "Oh, hell no, I'm not holding on to this." We put it out of the car seat.
You gotta write a book.
It was a nice gesture. Don't get me wrong. It was a great gesture.
It was quite kind of him.
Yeah, it was a great gesture. It was kind of him, but I just couldn't do it, man. Holy smokes! He must have went the seventh game in overtime to the whole seventh game in that jersey to give it back to me.
It was warm in the building.
That was part of Winnipeg. Just great people that wanted to to help you out and tell you how much they appreciated your efforts. That was Winnipeg. Loved it.
Too much fun, man.
Well, I hope that's not what love smells like.
I hope not. I hope not, Glenn. Hey, Glenn, did I tell you that you look good today?
Oh,
right.
Hey,
yeah.
Both of us.
Yeah.
Thank you. You know what? You said I asked a good question and that I look good. If I had any brains, I'd end the show right now.
Don't let it go to your head.
It's all downhill from there.
Don't let it go to your head. He says that to everybody.
Hey, I'll be on tomorrow too, by the way.
Good job, buddy.
I'm going to invite you over to stay with me. Thank you.
Glenn, I gotta tell you a quick story about Kent Nielsen. He was my line mate and my roommate, and his guy. I love the guy, obviously. Nothing affected him. Like nothing affected him. He was unbelievable player. Greatest shot, skated with ease and he'd fly, and just nothing affected. He scored 3 goals. I said, "Kent, way to go, buddy. Unbelievable." Yeah, thank you. Yeah, thank you. It was just him and Bertie Nichols. I said to everybody, they could play to their 110 if they wanted to, if they could only keep their physique and their mindset, because nothing ever bothered them. Nothing. Yeah. Hey Terry, the guy hit me from behind. I said, "I'll get him." I said, "No, it's okay. I'm okay with it." I said, "No, you're not. I'll get him for you. Don't worry about it." But nothing would ever bother him. What a heck of a player.
We had a shootout contest once for television at CKY, penalty shot contest the year before you got there, Terry, and it was like everybody against Joe Daly and against whoever was Kurt Larson. And so anyway, the final is Ulf against Kent, and Ulf doesn't score, so Kent gets to win the TV or whatever the prize was if he scores on Joe.
Yeah.
So Kent comes across the blue line, taps the back of the puck so the puck's up on its edge, pushes the puck towards the net on its edge, gets about 4 feet in front of Joe, flips it up in the air, and baseball bats it in the top corner. And Joe chased him around the ice with the goal stick. Only because Kent was faster than he can't survive.
That was Kent Nielsen. I used to see him with a soccer ball. Oh,
and a golf ball. He's like a 2 handicap or a 1 handicap.
Yeah, he's just a complete natural athlete, but cool, calm, collective. God dang, Clint Eastwood all over again.
Yeah.
I think the Calgary Flames still do a Kent Nielsen drill, which is like you have to hit the crossbar.
Oh, he could do that from anywhere. He could plink that from center ice every time.
Yeah. It was unfair.
Saw him do it.
Yeah.
Crazy.
We'd have who's going to buy lunch? We'd have 5 pucks and top the circle, hit the crossbar, and he'd hit 4 and miss 1, and I'd hit 1 and miss 4. So that's the kind of guy. And then he just shrugged his shoulders.
Together, the two of you were perfect.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, 5 for 5.
That's why we're line mates.
All right, guys. We have people chomping at the bit.
Yeah, let's get
how
them
much
on
fun
there.
we're having
all the time.
Yep. Thanks for having me on.
Thank you, Terry.
Glenn,
Terry, very much appreciate. Had a great. Please come back.
I will. You give me a back. I got a couple more stories.
Very good.
We'll talk to you soon,
guys.
Roscoe, about lots of things.
Okay.
Take care,
Bye-bye.
guys. You bet. Take care.
Okay, it's time for a line change. And to lead off our second set of guests, Greg Bowden, who is CEO of a company that promotes something called floorball. What is that, Greg?
Yeah, hey Glenn. Yeah, thanks for
Hey,
having us on here. This is great. What is floorball? Well, just real quickly, it's just a new type of modern ball hockey. So it's really played most, predominantly in Europe, Sweden, Finland, Switzerland, Czech Republic, and they have professional leagues there. They sell out arenas. We were in Stockholm at the Globen Arena. I took Ty Gretzky there a few years ago, and there was about 15,000 people in the stadium to watch the Swedish Super League floorball finals. It hasn't really made its way to North America at scale, but it's coming, and it's a really cool, exciting version of ball hockey.
now what's your role in the reunion? And tell me why you're excited about this whole thing.
Yeah, well, actually, I'd been talking with Jeff Kurbison in Winnipeg about Winnipeg Jets Avco Cup reunions, and there was two of them already, and we were teeing up the third one to celebrate the 1975-76 very first Avco Cup win in Winnipeg. And my dad was on that team. He was an assistant captain with the Jets then. And we were talking about getting the alumni together and having another reunion. And then COVID hit, and all of a sudden we realized that it was the 50th anniversary of the WHA as a whole. So we kind of channeled our efforts instead of doing a Avco Cup 75-76 reunion, we said, let's get a WHA reunion going. And here we are. We tried Vegas for a bit, as Peter said in the first segment, and it didn't really work out, but Whistler has come to the table with venues and hotels. Our dinner's all set up at the West Inn, and so I'm on the ground in Vancouver. I'm in North Vancouver. Dad's here as well in North Vancouver. He'll be on in a bit, and we're just excited to set the table for all these alumni and their families to have a great time in Whistler and celebrate 50 years of what was an amazing hockey league and a great era in hockey.
You've been a member of the Canadian Pro Golfers Association. And so I'm curious, aside from using sticks, I can't think of two more dissimilar sports. One, the ultimate team game, one, a solo effort.
Right.
Now, wouldn't you like to see more kind of Happy Gilmore style hockey coming to golf?
Yeah, and that's kind of why I landed, I think, in floorball. Is the floorball stick is like a golf club. It's a round shaft, carbon graphite, and it's a lightweight ball, and it's sort of in between hockey and golf. So that's why also growing up, in Winnipeg with the Jets, coming around our house, in the 70s, like players like Willie Lindstrom and Ulf Nilsson and Anders Hedberg and Kurt Larson, they kind of exposed me to kind of a European way. And floorball, when I was in Sweden working with a hockey company, I saw, it was basically ball hockey, Canadian style, presented in a new way. And so I brought it to Canada and have been trying to grow the sport and use it as a tool for developing hockey players, growing hockey as a whole, and getting floor hockey kind of reinvented in our country. So, yeah, I hear you on that.
Greg, there are so many things in this world that I didn't know that I didn't know. And one of them is that you own one of the largest collections of Joker playing cards. Is that right?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, I've been collecting Joker cards from decks of playing cards for about 30 years. And yeah, I have Joker cards that are as old as, dating back to 1875 when they first were introduced into the US playing card company. They kind of came through a game called Euchre, and before that there was no Joker cards in a playing card deck. But I have a huge collection. It's just right over. It's right here. They're all in binders. They're all classified and organized. And we're going to be launching a brand called JKRS, which is celebrating the Maverick, the Trickster, the Rebel, the Wild Card, the Joker card, and all their archetypes. And again, the World Hockey Association represents a lot of those ideals. They were, the World Hockey Association was the Joker card of professional hockey of the 70s, and they were the wild card, and they weren't part of the main deck, so to speak. And that so that's where we're kind of blending those ideals with bringing things like this together.
How many Joker cards do you have?
We have over 10,000 now in this collection. And we're talking with a collector in London who has about 3,500. He wants to join forces in our vault and make the collection bigger. So we'll be applying for the Guinness World Book of Records, and then just sharing the graphics styles, the paper texture, and the different printing techniques dating back to the 19th century. It's pretty amazing. So it's a pretty cool collection.
That is wild, wacky stuff.
Yeah.
Thank you, Greg.
Almost as wacky as the logos behind you in the.
That's what I've been collecting. I'm going to show you a couple of photos that I collected during my research. So here's one where that arrow is. That is Reg Fleming, and he's in Winnipeg. And talk about fan service. He was playing for the Chicago Cougars. He's in the penalty box. The game is going on, and he's signing autographs for the fans in Winnipeg. Now, if that's not accommodating, I don't know what is. This is a WHA referee. Has there ever been a better name for a referee than Ron Ego? That was his real name. Now, it is rumored that for this game, his linesmen were Randy Super Ego and Martin Id, but I wasn't able to confirm that. And one more photo for you that I came across. These are either the athletic trainers for the Minnesota Fighting Saints, or maybe the stars of a macho 70s TV show. This fall on NBC, Niederkorn and Gostick. When they train you, you stay trained. Sorry. But let's move on now to Jeff Curbison, who I know is here. He's a longtime sports writer for the Winnipeg Sun. Surprise! You're on early, Jeff.
Winnipeg Free Press.
Oh, no.
Yeah.
See,
All right.
I know when I was talking to Terry Rakowski and things were going so well that I should have quit then before I started making stupid mistakes. If only there was some type of device where these type of things could be fact-checked. But I don't know of any, but someday maybe they'll invent one.
An encyclopedia. They're called encyclopedias, Glenn.
Oh, yeah, I'm waiting for the door-to-door salesman to come by. Well, don't leave just because I misplaced your place of employment for a couple of decades.
No worries.
Because I'll tell you what, if you stick with us, I'll promote your book. How about that? One of them.
You got a deal. Oh, there we go.
All right. He's the author, Jeff is, of 2 books about the Jets, and one of them is The Hotline, about the legendary trio of Hull, Hedberg, and Nielsen. So, Jeff, I want to get to that book in a moment, but first, let's talk about the reunion. You have organized a Jets reunion in the past, so this WHA full league reunion must be something very close to your heart.
Yeah, it is. And I need to give credit here to Bob Fitchner, who played for the 1977 Quebec Nordique. And I ran into Fitch a few years ago. It would have been 2017. And because he lives a couple of miles from me. And I said, "How are you?" And he said, "Oh, I just came back from our 40-year reunion for the Nordique for winning the AVCO Cup." I said, "Oh, that's great. When's the Jets one?" And he said, "I don't know." I said, "Well, who organized this? Who did the one for you guys from Quebec City?" And he said it was a bellhop at the Chateau Frontenac. I thought, well, I'd never been a bellhop before, but I've been a bartender, and maybe I'll do it. So he gave me the format for it. They had a sponsors night one night. They had a gala dinner on the Saturday night, and I just ripped off their format entirely. I called as many hockey lovers and business people that I knew because I was a business reporter too. I got enough sponsorship money to fly all the players in. So we did two. We did the 77-78 team, which had Bobby Fernandez, Kent Nilsson, Willie Lindstrom, Peter Sullivan, players like that. And Tommy Bergman, Marcus Matson, Joe Daly, Gary Bromley. And then the next year we did the team with minus the hotline, but with all the Houston players. So with Luke and Rich Preston, Terry Ruskowski, Scott Campbell, and those guys. And so the response was super good. We had sold out dinners for both teams. It was a real time machine for everybody, and people got to come up, and we'd have a jet at every table, and there were more pictures taken in those rooms than anywhere else in the city those years. And everyone got autographs and pictures, and of course the lineup for Bobby's autograph was down the block. But it was, and one of the amazing parts about it too was that a lot of these guys hadn't seen each other in 40 years since the parade that they'd been at, and it took them about 15 seconds until they were making the same jokes, the same nicknames, same insults as they would have been doing when they were teammates. So they're both these teams were very close teams. You could tell that throughout the whole 4 days they were in town, and like they're all very like the emotions that you saw with these guys when they saw each other for the first time and when they had to leave. So they've all got great stories. They were obviously champions of the league, so that helped matters. But they all got a million stories, and those stories tend to come out now more now than they used to, because you don't have to go into the dressing room the next day and answer your questions if it's been in the newspaper. But you get those guys going at an event like that, and maybe a plime full of with a few cocktails, and those stories come out, and they're very good stories. And all these guys, a lot of them are very good storytellers. There's a big difference between when players talk today and when they talked, and players from 40 years ago. Today, it's much more cliched. These guys from 40 years ago, they didn't have to worry about people having cell phones everywhere. They did all kinds of crazy stuff, and they'll tell you about it.
Jeff, can I beg your indulgence? Again, besides the indulgence of misidentifying your employer, Morris Lukowich is back. So if I could beg your indulgence, yes?
If you let me do one quick story about Luke before we do this.
Okay, Morris.
So Patty Dawn Swanson, who was a reporter for the Winnipeg Sun years ago, was
that rag.
Yes, yeah. No one reads that thing. Was sitting in the stands with Tommy McVie, who was the Jets coach at the end of the WHA and the first year and a half in the NHL. And so they're watching the Jets practice in early 79-80, so the first NHL season. And so I guess Bill Sutherland is running the practice. Luke came in on a drill, ripped a snapshot high to the glove side for a goal. And Tommy said to Patty, "Wow, watching Luke is seeing that goal is better than sex." And Patty said to Tommy, "Well, Tommy, that doesn't say much for your wife, does it?" And Tommy looked at her and said, "Well, she didn't score 65 goals last year."
Now, Tom McVie is a guy who made all writers' jobs a little easier, right? Because he also said when he was coaching the Capitals, "I'd rather find out my wife was cheating on me than keep losing.
He also had one great line to a player in Washington. I forget which player it was, but the guy was complaining about being demoted in the lineup. And he says, well, why am I on the fourth line? And Tommy said, because we don't have a fifth.
That was worth waiting for. So please stay with us, Jeff. But Laura, if you will bring Morris back on to react to that story, and hopefully he's got audio as well as video. Can we hear you? Come in, Morris. Oh. Oh, this is so frustrating. You're showing up, you're making an effort. Okay, I'll try to read your lips. Glenn, thanks for the wonderful job you're doing. Oh, I tell you what, maybe it's the earphones. Do you have a way to listen without that if you unplug those? Oh. Oh, darn the luck. Tell you what, Peter, if you can hear me, will you try giving Morris a call and seeing if you can work out the technical stuff? And we'll go right back to Jeff here because we've got more questions. Gosh, I'm glad Jeff didn't take a bathroom break. So what I want to know is, you said when you were organizing this reunion, the Jets one, you said, I'll do it. And I just have a feeling you didn't know at the time everything that would go into that kind of production.
Oh, no, I had no idea. It was kind of like organizing a wedding for 20 people. So we had to, in addition to getting sponsors, I had to book venues, but I ended up getting $40,000 or $50,000 from various sponsors in town, and they were all very eager to help out because they all appreciated what the Jets had done back in those days and putting Winnipeg on the map. And so we had to fly everybody in. So I had to be best friends with the travel agents. We had to book all these venues. We got food and drink sponsors for the sponsor night, and we had to get hotels, and it was kind of a never-ending list of jobs. So I tried to delegate of as much of it as I could. But it's a big undertaking, and this one that we're doing now, that Greg and Peter are really spearheading, this is a much bigger deal, and this will be a bigger time machine for everybody. But more importantly, we're going to have players from all over, and so it's not just going to be the Jets; it's going to be players from Quebec and Edmonton and Hartford and Houston and Cincinnati, and we're hopefully going to have players from every team except maybe the Miami Screaming Eagles. So there'll be players there that the fans are super happy to see because they love them, and there'll be players there who fans are super happy to see because they hated them.
Either way, they're passionate, right?
Yeah.
All right, let's go back to your book. Why not? The Hotline. Here's what Glenn Sather wrote in the foreword to this book. Quote, Bobby Hull, Ulf Nielsen, and Anders Hedberg were the most exciting line I ever saw. They were so creative fundamentally. There weren't any flaws in their game. I was mesmerized by how they played. And Jeff, Glenn Sather wasn't alone in being mesmerized, was he?
Well, not at all. And the whole premise of this book was based on one line in Ed Willis's book called The Rebel League. And in one chapter on the Jets, he said that Ulf Anders and Bobby were the most influential line in the history of hockey on both sides of the Atlantic, because they integrated the possession style of hockey from Europe and kind of some of the more physical side in North America. And they confused people because prior to Ulf and Anders coming over, most hockey games were played like the tabletop game we all played as kids, where you'd go up and down your wing. The center would stay in the center, and Ulf, Anders, and Bobby just kind of went wherever there was open space. And so they would do that, and defensemen would be back and not sure who to. You'd have one defenseman going to the wrong guy all the time, and that would often they'd go to Nilsson, and that would leave Bobby or Anders open. And so it was confusing for the defensemen, super confusing for the goalies. Michel Dion, who played for Cincinnati, told me that Anders Hedberg gave him more trouble than Wayne Gretzky ever did. So, and the other thing about this line too was it wasn't just Ulf and Anders, but it was all the other Swedes that came over here. You have to remember that Winnipeg had half of the Swedish national team on its team in the mid '70s. That included Tommy Bergman and Willie Lindstrom and Dan LeBrotten. And when they came over, the general the bias was that everyone from Sweden was a chicken shit Swede, and that's what they all called them. But if you were at those games, the Swedes never got hit when they were facing a lot of these players. A lot of these were Canadian players primarily. They only got hit when they had their backs turned. So they were getting creamed in the numbers. And rather than back down or head back to Sweden like a lot of players hoped that they would, they kept playing the way they wanted to play. So I had a photo editor at the Free Press named Johan Thordarson, who used to cover the team for the Winnipeg Tribune. And he told me about covering the team in the playoffs in 70, 78, I think it was. And Ulf took off his jersey and he had the full goalie arm sleeves on to protect him from the slashing he was getting. And even with those on, he was still black and blue. But you could do whatever you wanted to Ulf. He had a black eye for 4 years when he was in Winnipeg. You could hack him, you could slash him, you could do whatever you wanted to. It didn't change the way he played. He was going to keep taking the hit to pass the puck to Bobby or Anders. And so when you talk about tough players, toughness isn't fighting or hitting. Toughness is having other players do whatever they want to do to you, and you don't change your style of play. So Ulf Nilsson in particular was arguably the toughest Swede of that generation. And you talk to Tommy Bergman, his teammate, and he'll say that a lot of the stuff that players did to Ulf back in those days, which was hardly even penalized, you'd be suspended for today.